What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box. Some more Red Orchestra 2 in action mode. Yeah, action mode. Not a fan. Not a fan. And I'll explain why, and why modes like this are kind of goofy, and why people in the community need to stop saying, "It's Call of Duty" for everything. I mean everything. It's like, hey, he's having a sandwich. Oh, hey, that's like Call of Duty. Look at him. He's putting mayonnaise on with a knife. That's totally Call of Duty, using the knife. Because that's what it has come to. And I've been meaning to do a video like this for a very long while, but finally with action mode in Red Orchestra 2, it kind of gives me a better opportunity to, because so many people have coined this to be so much like Call of Duty, and to try and get the Call of Duty players in and everything. But the reality is, I run around in Call of Duty all the time. When I'm playing Call of Duty, I run around, I jump, spin, do all that stuff like a crack addict. Because, quite frankly, that's what the game is for, When I'm playing Red Orchestra 2, I play much slower, much more tactically, all that good stuff, because they're two different experiences. I would never try and play Call of Duty like I play Red Orchestra, or vice versa, because it's just a waste of time. It's completely silly. One of the things I've always gone on about is, if you want a realistic game, play a realistic game rather than trying to play an unrealistic game realistically. While I could play, Quake in a tactical manner, it's no fun. No fun at all. I mean, it's just stupid. The intensity is just lacking, because that's not what the experience is created for. Which I'm pretty sure if you've watched most of my videos, you might have heard me joke about tactical crouch in Call of Duty. That's just a complete joke. I mean, it's trying to make it more realistic and tactical and everything. It just makes it more slow and stupid and boring. I mean, where's the intensity, which is what you get here, even in action mode. It's still much more intense. It's still much more hardcore than a Call of Duty ever has been. But yet so many people are like, oh, that's the Call of Duty noob mode, oh my god. Which, it's a good thing that there's a mode for the noob players to learn without instantly getting killed from 140 meters by a guy who's, a beast with the bolt action. It's a good thing. You gotta learn the maps, the weapons, and get familiar with the things, and learn which guys you should be shooting, which guys you shouldn't be shooting, and everything. But it still plays distinctly similar to Red Orchestra 2. It's different, it's not nearly as hardcore, but at the same time, it's not just like a Battlefield game with, just different World War II weapons. Excuse me. It's quite clear that it is still a hardcore shooter, with realism built in. It just, kind of relaxes a little bit. That way there is a way for the newer players to learn, which is a good thing. I think about Arma 2 and my DayZ experience I've been going through. I never got into Arma 2, not because I didn't want to get into a realistic game like Arma 2, which, speaking of which, if I can put my topic on pause right now, spawn system in firefights is absolutely terrible, but, the difference between Arma and Red Orchestra multiplayer oriented, Arma single player oriented, or co-op oriented. Which, they're two completely different things. People say, oh, Red Orchestra 2 is not as realistic. Well, the reality is that in a multiplayer shooter, having these large maps, and I mean like large, Arma 2 large, just doesn't work as well. It just doesn't. There's, way too much, options, basically, which, just kind of ruins the experience. There's no real reason to fight when you can just basically completely circumvent the enemy and be done with it if you choose, which... for a multiplayer shooter, I think you really need a smaller map. I think a lot of the maps in Red Orchestra 2 are too small, but, you can't have like an Arma 2 size map where you just have so much area, because really, I think that just doesn't work as well, and, for a variety of reasons, but, going back to what I was talking about, accessibility has become a dirty word. I mean, I think about Arma 2 and my experiences with that, I want to get into it. I've wanted to get into it for a while because I want a, super hardcore realistic shooter, There's a reason I played Falcon 4.0 and DCS A10. You know, I like realism. I mean, it's awesome. You know, it makes things so much more intense. But you know, Arma 2 is just this game that's so hyper realistic, so amazing. But at the same time, it fails at actually being a good product. You know, if you've seen me use the backpack in DayZ, oh my god, it's terrible. You know, it's like, does this really need to be this complicated? Does it really need to have this few instructions? You know, if you've ever played the tutorial, you know, training in Arma, they tell you basically absolutely nothing. Oh, hey, it takes me 20 minutes to get my people to get into a tank, when in reality I could just say, you, and you, hop in that tank. You know, it's just making things more difficult for the sake of making them more difficult, which, you know, some people will say, oh, don't remove that, don't add accessibility features, that'll cater to the Call of Duty crowd and bring those over. Well, your community's going to end up killing itself if you don't have these features. I mean, heck, I basically would not have ever played Arma 2 if it wasn't for DayZ, because I know the fact that it is absolutely terrible as a game and fails at several things, such as walking through doorways. You know, that's something I do every day in the real world, no problem. But in, you know, Arma 2, because of the movement that they added in for more realism, supposedly, it makes it a complete challenge, which is just kind of silly, you know? So, you know, accessibility is one thing. Actual making a game that works on a game level, which is what these always are, is another thing. So,